Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. I hope you guys are having a great day. We see Palantir Technologies has a spectacular day, up over 5% of the day, closing at 27.23, up and beating past a very critical resistance point at the $26 level. Now, what we see with PLTR in terms of this bullish technical pattern that we see with the cup and handle being set up, we also have a positive jobs report that was released today in terms of the probability of those first interest rate cuts that should hopefully be happening come the fall. Now, if we couple this with, of course, the demand in the AI market, the talk about Palantir Technologies now with earnings only about a month away, is there a possibility, of course, to get back to the 30s? And PLTR is trading at levels that we have not seen now in multiple years. So if you are a new or returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm collecting all the data and dispatching it to you. Pop it up on the screen here. What we see with Palantir Technologies, what we're using here is MooMoo's interface, closing here at 27.23. One thing that I do like specifically about PLTR right here is a lot of volume that is starting to come in. We've seen PLTR kind of hanging around 30 millions in terms of volume, but volume showing here shy of 50 million. Now, one thing that we can also closely see here, coupling here, is that the short volume tanks completely comes here for the daily short volume at only 1.55 million. What this is showing me, especially in terms of a short-term perspective, is that a lot of institutional positions that are typically more involved in these large short positions are switching their perspective on Palantir, that we could see possibly a breakout in the near future. Now, if you guys don't know, I am an affiliate with MooMoo. Right now, you can get up to 8.1% APY on your uninvested cash, and even depositing like $100 some, even going towards PLTR, you can get up to 15 free stocks, of course, with commission-free trading, along with very powerful investing tools. So check out my link down in the description if you want to get linked up with MooMoo today. Now, what we do see with PLTR is also Jim Cramer coming out here making a statement saying that PLTR is like a giant black box. Now, if you guys don't know about the reverse Jim Cramer theory, it's very interesting, basically saying whatever he says, the opposite typically occurs. And what he comes out here in a show saying basically, well, telling about PLTR is that they're basically one giant black box. That is his perspective, except for the consumer product goods, basically saying that there's no better people to ask, because he's saying that nobody really says what the company typically does. He said it would help if the company would tell what they do. I think we exactly know what Palantir does, is really working with AI data analytics that has really established a strong credibility type of relationship with the government sector, and now really rolling out into the commercial side of things in terms of the AIP rollout that we've seen, and that has been incredibly successful for the previous few quarters of earnings. So I don't really know what Jim Cramer is saying here, but Wall Street disagrees, and sure, Data Dispatch right here also disagrees right here, considering that Palantir is really doing very well right now. And this is what we're going to be talking about here. The 3 reasons, this is Motley Fool talking about, to buy Palantir like there's no tomorrow. Now, number 1 is the demand that we've seen into AI. We've seen overall in this AI industry, we are in the midst of an AI boom. Look at NVDA, and especially with these companies that are getting involved with AI, we've seen a lot of data analytics and even charts being ran that the return on investment for these companies in terms of productivity, cost saving, efficiency, the list can go on and on. The return on investment has been very lucrative. And what this means is that with PLTR getting involved in the commercial side of things and being even a leading competitor within the industry, is that lots of companies are really biting right at the bait, and they want to get involved in Palantir, and that's where they come into play right here, unleashing the true power of AI in terms of a software perspective, especially for a SaaS stock. And this is where AIP right here helps enterprises really move beyond chat, and really the main key thing here is bringing true utility of AI to these companies. This correlates with strong U.S. commercial businesses and reacceleration in governmental businesses. We've seen all the contracts, we've seen all the content creators that are covering all the contracts, of course, that are being basically succeeded. And we see here with the Titan program, impressive financials. That's a big thing that needs to be highlighted. The last several quarters of PLTR have really been historic in terms of the actual reports that we're seeing and what we're seeing on the balance sheet. We're starting to see, of course, the stock price that I think is starting to correlate with that. Now, one of the biggest, of course, criticisms is the valuation that PLTR trades at. However, if you look at the all-time highs of PLTR and considering where it's at right now at $27, this was trading at the same price just a few years ago. Compared to where the company's at right now, $27 is starting to make a little more sense. And I think a lot of the Wall Street is starting to agree with this, and especially we have some of the big major analyst bulls here like Dan Ives really naming PLTR as one of the top picks for the remainder of 2024, basically saying that Ives said that he expects tech stocks, including Palantir, to basically rise another 15% on top of the gains from the first half of the year, by utilizing a justification here, basically saying a tidal wave of nearly $1 trillion of spending will come to the shores of the tech sector. And this is with a lot of the other predictions of how much money they're predicting to flow in terms of market capitalization into these AI stocks. We also have, of course, earnings that's going to be coming up in about a month now. Estimations are about August 7th. We don't have the official announcement date, but earnings per share is sitting about 8 cents per share. That's what we're predicting. You see earnings per share revisions in the last 90 days. You have 7 in the bullish perspective and 2 in the bearish perspective. I do like this because this is bringing a little bit more of a realistic approach in terms of PLTR. I've not seen just bullish, or not just I've only seen bullish perspectives, and the fact that we have some bearish ones I think is important, especially since last quarter they did change a slight metric on their future guidance. In terms of the market today, we have the S&P 500, NASDAQ continuing to set these record highs. We're seeing these basically every other day as the Fed rate cut here is starting to become more of a higher probability. This is because of the recent jobs report here. This really reignited hopes for the rate cuts from the Federal Reserve. And we have the broad market here index about 0.5% that increases. And with that, the labor data that was released reflected a 206,000 increase in payrolls in June, but a slight uptick in the unemployment rate, which rose 4.1%. We see Treasury yields that drop, and what we're seeing is the downward revisions the prior month and the rise of the unemployment rates. This is adding the probability of the first interest rate cuts hopefully coming sometime in September, increasing the odds, and that's what Wall Street is trying to price in right now as we speak. So with all this being on top of what we're seeing in terms of the momentum coming into Palantir, this is why I think possibly that we could see a breakout into the 30s here in the near future. Other stocks that have been blowing up, we've seen Tesla that is continuing, rose more than 2%, having a week-to-date gain here of over 27%. We see Apple helping to bring up the general market up about 2%, and NVDA. Actually, on the flip side here, we see NVIDIA pulling back a little bit. The CEO sold some stock, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, considering with the NVIDIA surge that we have recently seen over the last year. It makes sense that we're going to see some of the key players in NVIDIA starting to basically take advantage of some profit taking. That is not bad. I fully respect, I think, some of the big executives and big names to do some profit taking. However, with that, you have a big change in emotion, momentum, and perspective from the retail and institutional side that are trying to trade off of that play. So just kind of beware out there, especially with what you're seeing and with things that do change in terms of NVIDIA. Other than that, talking about here, you see articles being released about a 2% pullback. That's really nothing for NVIDIA considering how much is actually grown. So NVIDIA still doing very successful. We see the market that is doing well in terms of the perspective of those first interest rate cuts, and of course Palantir that is continuing to excel. So a lot of bullish things that are happening in the market now, and it will be exciting to see what happens after this holiday weekend and what's going to be happening for the next week of July. We'll be keeping you guys up to date. Peace out, take care, and have a wonderful weekend.